Welcome to another episode of Decatur Dish. I am Maria Moreau, joined by our media partners at Decatur Dish, the one and only Dan Wisenhunt. Happiest Tuesday to you, Dan.
Happy Tuesday, Maria. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, we have a lot of stories that have been going on really since we last joined here last Tuesday, but I want to start with the main one because this really affects all of DeKalb County. Let's jump into recent remarks from Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, newly elected CEO of DeKalb County. She held a news conference discussing her legislative priorities for 2025, and it really painted a picture of the next year ahead for the new CEO.
That's right, Maria. And it's not going to surprise a lot of people in our audience to hear that mental health is one of the big legislative priorities. DeKalb County is making a very significant commitment in that regard. I think the county is kicking in, $15 million, and they're asking state for an additional $9 to $10 million to provide things like beds. We have a very severe lack of beds for people who need psychiatric care here in DeKalb County.
Hey, speaking of the priorities that were laid out, which, by the way, we have that full news conference for you in the free Atlanta News First app. One of the things that residents have brought up time and time again was response times with ambulances in DeKalb County. We did an investigation, Atlanta News First investigates, looking into that response time, and now the county is addressing it, saying they are putting measures in place to speed up how quickly they can get to an emergency.
Yes, you did. What an excellent piece of investigative reporting that was. The county has decided to improve its response times. So currently the response times are about 20 minutes. Optimal response time in a life-threatening situation is 12. So not doing too great. The county is going to create 3 zones, north, central, and south. Create staffing and coverage plans for those zones in an effort to bring down the response time from AMR. Obviously, it's always a disconcerting thing when you call 911 and the ambulance takes forever to get there. But there's new leadership in DeKalb County, and there's a new level of accountability, I think, for a lot of the things the county is doing. And ambulance response times is one of them.
I will say, with hearing from CEO Cochran-Johnson to hearing about the ambulance response times, this is an investigation that we've been following for many, many months. It seems like the county is doing more between their water infrastructure, between their police force, to say, hey, we do have issues. We're not going to pretend we don't, and let's have a discussion about it. Taking things more locally, because this is the Decatur Dish, I want to talk about something cool. And Dan, I'll let you announce this news, but it has to do with a locally popular women's soccer team that is getting some new leadership and some other exciting partnerships.
Decatur FC, very popular. They broke attendance records last year. They have their matches at Decatur High School. They finished second. They got a new general manager, Joel Gould. He's a longtime City of Decatur resident, heavily involved in soccer around town. He's going to be taking over. He played a key role in the team last year. Excited to announce that Decatur is also the official media partner of Decatur FC this season, so we will be very heavily involved with the games. So be on the lookout for us at Decatur FC matches this summer.
I want to keep things in Decatur for a moment, Dan. Let's talk about some news that dropped on Decatur-ish. Atlanta News First as well reported this. The city could be getting a universal sound level, and this piqued my interest when I was following this initially. It got unanimous approval.
And applause and cheers. And noise ordinance got some noise from the people in the room. The key driver of this, I think, is lawn and landscaping equipment. I believe that there's a prohibition now on requiring landscapers to use electric equipment, so they can't do that. But the city does have the ability to set decibel levels, and complaints about noise got higher during the pandemic when people were working from home more, and so it became an issue that we were more focused on. As it so happens, our special guest today is Decatur Mayor Patti Garrett, and she's going to talk to us about that and a couple of other things that are going on in the city of Decatur.
We'll be back with the mayor right after this short break.
So I'm on the MARTA train the other day, and I'm returning from the Billy Strings concert, and I'm surrounded by all of these soccer fans. And on my way back to Decatur, I hear, Dan, Dan, and I look around and I don't know who it is, and I turn and I see Mayor Patti Garrett, who's joining. You and the first husband of Decatur, Gary, were leaving Atlanta United. I understand they won, correct?
They did win that game, yes.
Good. Well, I know they've been having a tough time. Mayor, how are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. Mayor Garrett, we were just talking about this noise ordinance update that got passed in Decatur last night. Tell me about it. Why is it needed? What's it going to do?
So this has been a long process in getting here. We took a lot of community input. We did a survey. We had a group of interested residents also work with us. And I think you were correct in that a lot of this was kind of brought to the forefront during the pandemic. And so it's taken us a while to get an ordinance that we feel like could be uniformly applied, and that we were asked to include lawn and landscape equipment as a part of the ordinance. But we also wanted it to be easier to apply sort of universally across zoning districts. And so that part was also included in the revised noise ordinance.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Cities can't ban gas-powered lawn equipment anymore, right? That's done.
You can't ban any specific type of lawn equipment, so that's correct.
With that said, let's say I can afford to live in Decatur and I want to throw a rager at my house. It's 10 p.m. and somebody wants to call in a noise complaint on me. How do they do that? And what's my penalty for throwing what I hope will be a really awesome party in the city of Decatur at 10 p.m.?
So I think we will mostly enforce this if we are contacted by your next door neighbor who is not happy about the big party at your house after
Gotcha.
10 p.m. And the police would just come out and ask you to, turn it down because you are exceeding the noise ordinance. So if there is non-compliance, I think then, a ticket could be issued. But first of all, you could report it on the non-emergency number. An officer would come out. We do have decibel testing equipment, so and it spells out in the ordinance where the decibels are measured so that it will be consistent throughout the city.
Decatur, keep the noise down. That's the message from your city leadership. Mayor Garrett, one of the biggest things that you did, and I think I said this to you at the time, was the Legacy Park purchase. Decatur, it used to be called the United Methodist Children's Home. It was this huge campus on South Columbia. City of Decatur went through quite a lot to get this property, paid $40 million for it. Has that been worth the investment, do you think?
Absolutely. That's one of the things I'm really proud of that has happened while I was mayor. It was a complicated sort of purchase, and once we knew that if it became available, the city was going to be interested. At that time, it was located primarily in DeKalb County, and so we wanted to be able to have that beautiful piece of property in the city of Decatur, and knowing that it would be a tremendous asset and that we would be able to preserve a significant portion of it. And I'm thrilled to see so many things happening out there that were a part of the master planning process that took place several years ago, and we are able to implement a number of those things, and it's really fun to go out there and see those things happening right now.
One of those things is a track. Everyone is very excited about this track. Tell me about the track.
So the track is an 8-lane competitive track, and it will be shared. There's a field in the middle of it, and both of those facilities will be shared with the school system. And we have a shared use agreement agreement with them. It was a joint project in terms of both City Schools of Decatur and the City of Decatur putting in funds. And I want people to know the track and the field are amazing and are nearing total completion. But as a part of that, we also redid the gym that was made it now ADA accessible. There are changing rooms. There is a concession stand with storage and bathrooms. So that was another big piece. When people are out enjoying that 77 acres of property, it will be nice to have a public restroom.
Now, remind me, the track was a bit further off in the planning process, but I think it got sped up because of ARPA money, yeah?
That is absolutely correct.
So the track, it was delivered way quicker than anybody expected, and y'all are about to cut the ribbon on that.
We are on March the 29th. We are looking forward to opening that facility and having it available for use for the community as well as for the schools.
I know everybody is excited, particularly the Decatur High track team. David McFarland, one of our contributors, did a spring sports preview on Decatur-ish and talked all about it. Go check it out. Mayor Garrett, what do you think Legacy Park has brought to the city of Decatur?
I think it has brought, first of all, we also have housing going in, a partnership with the Decatur Housing Authority,
Right.
the first 66 units of an eventual 132 units. It is a unique piece of property, and it is a unique plan that helps with bringing people together for community events. There's spaces there that can be rented for very modest fees to use by the community. It's a beautiful outdoor space. We have Truckin' Tuesdays coming up soon. Bring people out there. We have a number of nonprofits that are able to rent spaces there and have really developed a community of their own out there and a camaraderie. And I think when people come there, they feel that warmth and welcoming, and the track and field and other things as they develop, I think will just continue with fostering that sense of really belonging. And so I think it's a huge community asset.
Mayor, let's talk about the wonderful, wacky world of the Georgia State Legislature and all of the fun bills they put out that you get to follow every year. What are some of the more interesting bills you're following in the legislature this year? And more importantly, why are you following them?
So clearly, I am following the speed camera bill for speed cameras in school zones. We only just implemented our program in, we had, I guess, a speed study in September. We did some warning tickets. We did a public education campaign and actually just started it in November. We have seen a 92% reduction in speeding from the time we did the study to the numbers that have been provided to us in January of this year. So we find them to be effective. We think that we have good guardrails in place. We just run them an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. And there was a bill in the House that was going to ban them altogether instead of looking at are there ways to have some guardrails. And so I've been to the Capitol several times to talk before a committee in the House and a subcommittee in the Senate. And so some of the bills that I see now on both sides are looking to establish some guardrails very similar to what we have in our ordinance and allowing the speed cameras, but also having them run at times that the school, at the beginning of school and at the end of school.
So you're saying that Decatur has already sort of pioneered what this could and should look like in most communities, is what I'm hearing.
We are really proud of our program, and the police chief has accompanied me, and so it's always nice to have the chief come and also talk about the role that something like this can play in law enforcement. We simply don't have the personnel to have someone. We have 22 school zones. We have the cameras on the 5 that had the highest level of speeding, and we have 4 of them on state routes. And so I think he is very much wanting to be able to continue the program, and we just want people to slow down, and that is the entire reason that we have put the speed zone cameras in the school districts.
Sounds like you're accomplishing that part, the speeding down part. The thing that I hear the most from people who don't like this is that it's hard to contest a ticket. So, I don't intend to go speed in a school zone. Nobody should. Don't do that. But on the off chance that I got a speeding ticket in a school zone and I thought it was unjust or unfair, what are my resources? What can I do to fight it?
So there is due process. You can go to court. We've also said that if you feel like you received a ticket in a time that maybe you didn't think was a school zone time, our police chief has said, email him, let him know that. We want it to work properly. I know that we contact our vendor if we have a snow day, if we have school ending early for some reason. We really try to do our due diligence in making sure that the lights may still be on. That's a whole other. They're controlled through the county, but the speed cameras should not be working, and we try to make sure that is the case anytime that school is not in session for some reason.
And to be clear, if you happen to slow down when you're not supposed to, it's okay. You can continue driving slowly. You'll still get where you're trying to go. Mayor, we wanted to talk about some of the other bills. We've talked a lot about this floating homestead exemption. We've talked about that bill and some of the bills that are coming after that to maybe extend the deadline. What are some of the other pieces of legislation that you're tracking right now, and why are you tracking it?
So I don't believe the bill to extend the time has gone anywhere. There is a Senate bill, I believe it's Senate Bill 92, that is looking at a provision that would require cities that did opt out of the provision in House Bill 581 that would require that your property taxes could only, or the assessments could only go up by the cost of living index, and we did opt out. There is a bill that would require cities or government entities, cities, schools, counties, to, if they opted out this year, you would have to opt out and hold the hearings every single year. And
oh boy!
I don't know. Right? It was such fun. I think a lot of we have, as you know, most of our property taxes are residential, and we don't have a lot of tools to use, and I think we do our very best to try to limit the impacts of property taxes, and we passed some additional homestead exemptions. We also have a fragile downtown commercial district, and if we went with the if we opted in rather than out, it does not apply to commercial districts, which would mean the commercial districts would have the higher rate of taxes.
But you understand why people are concerned about property tax rates. You're a homeowner too. You've experienced some of this. You get it, right?
Absolutely. And we had a work session with the county to talk about how those appraisals are done and the process that you can go through if you feel like it has been raised unfairly. And we really are looking at ways that we can assist homeowners through through the homestead exemptions, the more recent ones that we passed, and also working with our budget to see what can we do to make sure that we can still provide the services that people like and enjoy, and do it. We think that we do it in a fiscally responsive way, and to continue the conversations, and we've promised to do that with our residents.
Mayor, I was thinking about this on the car ride over. Decatur, it seems to me that the world, and the United States in particular, is acting firmly against everything Decatur stands for. Decatur is known as this progressive blue dot in the city of Decatur. And I'm just kind of curious, how how do things look for the city of Decatur going forward? And I think back to when we had the Immigration Enforcement Review Board and Casey Cagle was running for governor, and he filed this complaint that didn't really have any merit, and then your very smart attorney Brian Downs basically imploded the board by using some legal maneuvering. But do you think we'll start to see more things like that? Do you think Decatur will be targeted specifically because it is Decatur?
I hope not. I think that we really try to, first of all, reflect what our residents would like for us to do. I think our police department, follows the law. I think, but to my knowledge, there are really not any. They're not doing anything different than they were doing before the legislation, the recent legislation that passed. That said, they are required to follow the law. So I hope that we will be able to continue to do what we do and to be respectful of the wishes of our residents and really try to hold on to the values that we have in the city of Decatur and make decisions that reflect those.
Mayor, last question. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we do have city elections coming up this year. Have you made a decision?
I have not. So, and I had a feeling that question might come before me, but a lot to
You know me
consider
too well.
this year. I do.
Mayor, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your public service. Thank you for joining us today. We hope we can have you back sometime.
I'd love to. Thanks a lot.
This is the Decatur Dish. We tape right here on Atlanta News First Plus every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Check us out by downloading that app on your smartphone or your streaming devices. To get all the latest news from Decatur-ish, visit decaturish.com. And to sign up for our free daily email, visit locallysourcednews.com. With that, we hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 12:30 p.m. right here on ANF Plus.